Hey everyone, Joe DeCarlos here of the Temoa project. In this video, I want to show you how to use our new online interface that was created by Sam IT Solutions. And the biggest innovation here is if you've used the previous version of our interface, basically all the data files were dumped together into one repository, and you had to look for your file as you were working through the system. And in this case, what we now have is the ability for you to create your own Temoa workspace and work only with your files. So the first thing you're going to do is create your own account. So I've already done that, so I'm just going to go ahead and log in. And when you log in, this is the screen you're going to get. Now, everything is blank right now. So my first step is going to be to create a new project. And the way to think of a project is a set of runs that are focused on a particular system. So for example, if I'm modeling the entire US, then I'm going to create a project that's focused on the US, working with that database, and then I can create a number of scenarios under this project. So I'm going to go ahead and create the project, and I'm just going to call it Temoa Test System, and we can give it a description. So this is a test system, and I'm going to go ahead and create that. Now, you'll see what happened here. We now have a project. It's got my name and description, when it was created. And now you can see that there's a couple actions here. So if I want to just delete the project, I can click the little trash can icon. But if I click the view icon, it's going to take me to this screen where I'm going to manage scenarios. So if I click on this, I don't have any scenarios yet. So the manage scenarios button is going to be replaced by a create scenarios button. So I'm going to click that. All right, now we're going to come up with a scenario name. So I'm just going to call it test run. Okay, and then if you click here, you can upload a file that you'd like to run. So I'm going to go ahead and select this Temoa test system, which is part of our Temoa repo. You can see I get a message saying file uploaded successfully. So now I can go back to the scenarios. And you can see it's now under this project, Temoa Test System, we've created a scenario. I have the same icons. I can delete the scenario or I can view the scenario. So I'm going to go ahead and view. And now you can see a few new things. One is that you actually get a view into the database here. So if you wanted to peruse the database and look at some of the parameters in the database file that you just uploaded, you can view them here. Now you can't actually change the data here, but it allows you to view. And you see these three buttons along the top. So I can click on input data and I can make a network diagram. So I first need to select the region. This test system has two regions, so I'm just going to select R1. I'm not going to worry about a specific commodity and technology. I want to get a view of the whole system. So I'm going to say render diagram. And you can see that it gives me the network diagram associated with this test system. Each of the green boxes represents a different technology, and they're connected together by the flow of energy commodities, which are represented by these blue circles. To get back to where I was, if I go to the breadcrumb up at the top and click on Actions, it's going to take me back to this menu, and you can see that it's now it's created an action. So it's taken my scenario name and it's appended a unique ID to it. And you can see that it's listed as an input diagram. So if I go view here, I can actually download the SVG file with the network diagram to my local machine. Okay, so every time you create a diagram or you run the model, it's going to create a new action that you can then revisit later on. If I actually want to use this data file to do a model run, it takes me to this menu. You can see that I have a number of options here. So we can create spreadsheet output, text file output. We can create an LP file. We, in theory, can run it on Neos, which is a server that has access to commercial solvers. This is not currently working right now. You have to run with solver that's on the server. And right now, the best available one is this CoinOR CBC. So just leave that. Single run, if you want to do uncertainty analysis, you can use modeling to generate alternatives. And then we're going to run the model. And you can see that it runs the model. It gives me a set of outputs here. You notice there's a download button. So I can click on this And I'm going to save this. It's going to download everything as a zip file. So I happen to have this Temoa results folder on my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And then I can navigate to that folder. Here it is. I'm going to unzip things. And you can see what I get. So I'm going to get a log file, which is basically the output that's shown on the interface. I'm going to get the LP file. This is the file that Pyomo creates and then sends to the CoinOR solver. I also get this spreadsheet with the scenario name called test run, and you can see that it's broken out the results by the output type. So I've got capacity by sector. So I've got capacity in the electric sector, residential sector, supply sector, transport sector. And then I also have the same sector tabs, but showing activity, which would be the energy flow out of each technology. There's also an emissions table and a cost table. So this is a nice way to be able to deal with the output data. There's also a PyAM file, and this is still currently under development, but if you're using the open source PyAM tool to view the results, then we have a very basic version that will output a PyAM spreadsheet. So those are the outputs that you get when you do a model run. I can also, if I use my breadcrumb and I go back to actions, so notice it's created another action here called model run. And again, I can revisit this model run later on, download the database file. I can see what were the settings that I used when I committed that run. I can also go to output data, and there's a couple things you can do here. One is you can actually make the network diagram. We need to select a particular period, and it will actually render the diagram and give you the optimal installed capacity of each technology, as well as the commodity flows for the time period that you selected. The other option is you can create output plots. So you can select a regional value. You need to select what scenario, test run, plot type. Let's say I want to look at capacity, and then I want to do that in the electric sector, and I can generate a very simple stack bar plot that's going to show me the results. Again, I can return to actions, and all of the actions that I've taken are listed here. Now, if I go back to scenario, again, I only have one scenario here. If I want to create a new scenario, then I'm going to go through the same process. I'm going to click Manage Scenarios, Create Scenario. I'm going to give it a new scenario name and then upload a new file. So the whole advantage of this Temoa cloud environment is that it basically creates the Temoa environment you need to run the model. You still need to manipulate the data on your local machine and then be able to upload it to the interface. The interface is not going to provide a way for you to manipulate the input data. You have to do that on your local machine and then upload it. Again, you would upload it under a new scenario name. You would give it a new database file. And then you could go through the same set of operations, and the interface will track these different scenarios and associated inputs and outputs associated with that scenario. Now, there's different plans here. So if you just have one project, you can have 5 scenarios, and all of this is free. If you want to have multiple projects, perhaps you're analyzing different systems, then we have paid plans. So the professional plan allows for 5 projects and 50 scenarios distributed across those 5 projects. And then we have a premium account that gives you unlimited projects and scenarios. And the reason why we do this is because we have to have physical assets on the cloud that enable you to be able to do this. And so this is really just to cover the cost of the hardware as well as the support to provide these services. If you click back here, again, it'll show you the projects you can work on. If you click on the left menu bar, again, it'll take you back to your projects. Again, the free account is limited to 1 project and 5 scenarios. Do keep in mind that you can delete scenarios. So you can run 5 scenarios, delete a scenario, add a new scenario. It's just that you can't store more than 5 scenarios total with the free account. If you click on profile, it'll give you information on your membership, and you can click the upgrade plans button in the top right if you need to upgrade. So that's how this new interface works. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below.